Well, hello class. Today we are going to start Kingdom Protista. Okay. So first of all, where this word came from. Now, if we look at the chronological order, what we find is the term Protista was coined by Ernst Haeckel. Okay. So now the scientist Ernst Haeckel, K-L-E, okay, Ernst Haeckel, in 1866 coined this term Protista. Well, if you all remember the classification, we have spoken of 2 kingdom, 3 kingdom, 4 kingdom and 5 kingdom classification, and later on हमने बात की थी about the 3 domain classification or 6 kingdom classification by Carl Woese, right? तो अगर आप लोग वहां से याद करेंगे तो वहां पे याद कीजिए the 3 kingdom classification, right? 3 kingdom classification was done by Mr. Ernst Haeckel, okay, in 1866, and as per this there were 3 kingdoms. First kingdom was Protista, and then was Plantae and Animalia. Out of these, the Plantae and Animalia were also the 2 kingdoms found in 2 kingdom classification by Carolus Linnaeus, right? So when the Ernst Haeckel proposed 3 kingdom classification, basically he added a new kingdom as Kingdom Protista, right, in 1866, and this is the time when he coined this term Protista. Well, we have also studied that when he proposed this new kingdom, okay, so when he proposed this new kingdom Protista, he used this kingdom as a dustbin, okay, and hence Kingdom Protista is also known as dustbin kingdom. Why it is so? It is so because Mr. Ernst Haeckel, he used this kingdom as the kingdom of all the controversial organisms, as in all the organisms which were finding a difficult position to be assigned between Kingdom Plantae and Animalia, or you can say the controversial organisms, okay, on which there was no consensus whether they should be plants or they are animals, okay. Ernst Haeckel made this new kingdom and threw all these controversial organisms into Kingdom Protista, right? So it is like all those who are creating problem, who are difficult to classify between plants and animals, now they are what? Protista. So he treated Kingdom Protista as a dustbin initially, not today. Okay, so initially it was treated as a dustbin. Well, what happened later on? So after 3 kingdom there was 4 kingdom, and when 4 kingdom classification was given by Mr. Copeland, then he removed all the prokaryotic organisms from Kingdom Protista and put them into a newly formed kingdom called Kingdom Monera, right? He introduced the Kingdom Monera and put all these prokaryotic organisms there. Still, Kingdom Protista is left with a mixture of different type of eukaryotic organisms, right, which were still being difficult to classify between the Plantae and Animalia, okay, which are eukaryotic kingdoms. So still it has a mixed bag of animals, correct? Now later on when Whitaker came, he introduced the 5th kingdom as fungi, right? So now when 5 kingdom classification came in, now Kingdom Protista is the kingdom of all unicellular eukaryotic organisms, correct? Eukaryotic organisms. And this is what we study. Whatever we study here is basically the 5 kingdom classification, okay? So we, in our textbook so far, we study the five kingdom classification given by RHV Taper. And as per this classification, kingdom Protista is a kingdom that is comprised of unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Okay, great. However, because of a lot of diversity in kingdom Protista, okay, still there are members which belong to more than one kingdom. So they are also treated in kingdom Protista as well as in some other kingdom. Okay, and all such organisms, all such members of Protista or kingdom Protista are known as MB regnal protist. MB regnal protist. Please remember this. So MB regnal protist are the protist which are part of two kingdoms, kingdom Protista, and that another kingdom could be kingdom Plantae or Animalia, okay, or maybe fungi. Say for example, okay, there is a member of Protista called slime mold. Okay, now slime mold is a protist, but as per some other classifications it is considered as fungi. Okay, so now it is member of two kingdoms, Protista as well as fungi. So it is an example of what? MB regnal protist. Great. Now since we are talking of changing taxonomy, can you see that the members of Protista which were earlier member of Protista later has been classified into some other kingdom. Okay, say for example, if we talk of yeast, okay, yeast, basically we are talking about Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Okay, cerevisiae, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, the baker's or the brewer's yeast. If we talk of yeast, now yeast is a unicellular eukaryotic organism, so they should be in kingdom Protista. But later on, and earlier they were the member of Protista, but later on, when we did a phylogenetic analysis, okay, so we used systematics, then we found that yeast are more close to the fungi, and therefore we made an exception. Okay, and we classified yeast in the kingdom fungi. Okay, so do remember that despite yeast being unicellular and eukaryotic, it is not a member of Protista. It was earlier, no more it is. Okay, now it is what? A member of kingdom fungi. So yeast is a unicellular fungi. It is the only exception. All fungi are multicellular except yeast. Okay. Now, can you see the member of Protista are now classified into some other kingdom, right? Their whole process of classification and naming is being changed, and therefore this kingdom Protista, okay, therefore kingdom Protista is also known as kingdom of changing taxonomy. Kingdom of changing taxonomy. याद रखेंगे आप ये चीज, ठीक है? अभी तक जो भी आपने देखा, लेट अस समराइज फर्स्ट. हमने ये बोला, कुछ पॉइंट्स हैं जो याद रखिएगा. The term Protista was given by Mr. Ernst Haeckel in 1866, okay, and it included most of the controversial organisms at that time, and hence we considered kingdom Protista as a dustbin kingdom. Okay, later on kingdom Protista was assigned only for unicellular eukaryotic organisms. However, there is an exception, and this exception is yeast. Okay, despite unicellular eukaryotic, it is a member of kingdom fungi. Great. Okay, then you should remember what is MB regnal protist. These are the protists which belong to two kingdom. Okay, great. And then you should remember that kingdom Protista is also known as kingdom of changing taxonomy. Well, so this is the brief idea. Now let us look at some other aspects of kingdom protesta. See, when we are studying of a kingdom, basically we are studying a group of species, right? A large group of species. So when we look at this large group, obviously these groups will be having their own habitat, their feeding habits, or you can say what is their nutrition type, correct? How they reproduce, how their body look like, what is their mode of uh, locomotion. These all are the few common characters that we study. Okay, so let's look at them one by one for kingdom protesta. If we talk of habitat, so kingdom protesta, the members of kingdom protesta are mostly aquatic. देखिए बेटा, मैंने बोला mostly aquatic. This does not mean that they will not be terrestrial. They can be terrestrial as well. But if terrestrial, they will live in the mud or in the moist places. And sometimes they are also parasitic. So they will live inside the host body. Okay. When we say aquatic, mostly aquatic, they are both fresh water and marine water. Okay. Great. So this is about the habitat. Let us look at the nutrition. If we are talking of nutrition, the kingdom protestant members can either be autotrophic, okay, autotrophic, or they can be heterotrophic. Well, within heterotrophic, they can either be holozoic, okay, they can either be parasitic, or they can be saprophytic. So all kind of heterotrophic nutrition is found in case of kingdom protesta. But within autotrophic, they are always oxygenic photoautotrophs. Chemoautotrophic nutrition is not found in kingdom protesta. Okay. Well, there is one unique character that we need to see here. Some members of kingdom protesta are mixotrophic. Now the problem comes in is what is mixotrophic? You know autotrophic, you know heterotrophic. Suppose an organism shows both type of nutrition. Okay, when light is present, it behaves as autotroph. When light is not present, it behaves as heterotroph. Such an organism is known as mixotroph. Okay, so some members of protesta are mixotrophs. They show mixotrophic nutrition. Okay, great. Let us look at their reproduction style. Okay, so reproduction. If we look at reproduction in protesta, obviously they show both type of reproduction, asexual and sexual, both. Now within asexual, what we find, they can show spore formation, okay, they can show binary fission, okay. If we talk about asexual reproduction, they can show budding, okay. So the members of protesta can reproduce asexually either by spore formation, mainly asexual spores, right, binary fission or multiple fission even, okay, so multiple fission is also there, or budding. Great. When we talk of sexual reproduction, obviously they can reproduce sexually as well, okay. So there is formation of male and female structures which will fuse to form a diploid structure, and then again meiosis and haploid. So we will see in case of plasmodium and other protozoan members how they reproduce sexually, okay. So kingdom protesta can reproduce either by asexual method or by sexual method. In case of sexual method, they can reproduce by all the three possible methods of sexual reproduction, that is isogamy, anisogamy, and oogamy. Okay, aniso, and oogamy. All three kind of sexual reproductions are found in the members of kingdom Protista. Okay, so now you have a basic idea of the members of kingdom Protista, right? They are unicellular eukaryotic organisms. Okay, now when we say unicellular, it doesn't mean that always they have to be single celled. They can live either as free single cell organisms, or they can form the colony, so they can live in the groups. But in all the cases, these all cells or these all organisms will not unite to form tissue. Okay, if they will form the tissue, then they become the multicellular organisms, else they remain the unicellular organisms. Okay, therefore, if we talk of the, just a minute, lifestyle, they can either be free living or colonial. Okay, in some cases they can also be parasitic. So the members of kingdom Protista can either be free living, unicellular free living organisms, or they can be living in a colony. So like this is one organism, this is another organism, third organism, fourth organism, fifth organism. Okay, so there are many cells, correct, more than one cell of course, which are forming a colony. Now despite having more than one cell, it is not a multicellular organism. Why? Because every single cell is independent. They are functioning as one individual. Okay, it is not that all these are cells combine and then forming a tissue and which is acting as an organism. No, every single organism is a independent organism. Every single cell is an organism, and therefore despite having a group of cells, they are actually group of organisms. They are colonial. Okay, they are not multicellular. Please remember this. If a group of cells form a definite structure, okay, and they perform a particular function such that every single cell has a particular task, or there is division of labor between them, then only we consider them as multicellular. Else we consider them as unicellular. Okay, get it? So kingdom Protista are either unicellular free living organisms, or these can be colonial, or they can be parasitic, so they can be live inside the host. Great. They can reproduce by both asexual and sexual methods. Their nutrition could either be autotrophic or heterotrophic, and in some cases it can even be mixotrophic. Great. So this is the basic character of kingdom Protista. Now if we look at the kingdom Protista, we can broadly classify them into the following groups. Let us see. So here I am taking kingdom Protista. So this can be classified broadly into 5 groups. Okay, kingdom Protista can be divided into 5 groups, or you can say 5 divisions, and these are chrysophytes. Okay, chrysophytes, or second is dinoflagellates. Well, the third one could be, or the third one is euglenoids. Then fourth one is slime mold, and fourth one is, oh sorry, the last one, fifth one is protozoa. Okay, so can you see the kingdom Protista or the member of kingdom Protista can be grouped into these 5 groups. Okay, they can be classified broadly into these 5 groups, and that is chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, euglenoids, slime mold, and protozoa. What we are going to see? We are going to see them one by one. Okay, great. So let us start with the very first one. Okay, that is chrysophytes. Chrysophytes. Now, first character, obviously they will be what? Unicellular and eukaryotic. Why? Because they are member of kingdom Protista. So obviously they will be unicellular and eukaryotic. Secondly, if we are talking of nutrition, they all are autotrophic. Okay, and within autotrophic, what kind of autotrophic they are? They are, or they show oxygenic autotrophic nutrition. Okay, so they say they show oxygenic autotrophic nutrition. When we talk of their habitat, where do we find them? We mainly find them in water. So they are aquatic, and within aquatic they are mostly marine. Okay, great. So chrysophytes, they are unicellular, eukaryotic, autotrophic organisms. Okay, and what kind of autotrophic? They are showing oxygenic autotrophic nutrition. So that is similar to your higher plants. Basically they will do photosynthesis in presence of light, and they will use water and CO2, and as a byproduct they are going to produce oxygen. Great. Habitat, where do you find them? You are going to find them in water, mostly in the sea water, marine water. Okay, rarely in fresh water. Great. Now if we talk of chrysophytes, chrysophytes can be classified into 2 groups. Okay, further they can be classified into 2 groups, or you can say they are comprised of or composed of 2 groups. Number 1 is diatoms. Okay, आप लोगों ने ये नाम सुन रखा होगा, diatoms, and second one is desmids. Okay, so both diatoms and desmids are the member of chrysophytes. Well, let us see one by one what a diatom is and what are desmids. Great. Well, so very first one is diatoms. Now can you see, if you split this term, okay, if you split this term, now this term can be split into 2 parts. Di, right? Di means 2, and there is another word called atom. Okay, this is atom. Now you know atom is the fundamental unit, right? Why we call it diatoms, we will see later. है ना, हम लोग देखेंगे कि हम इसे डायटम्स ही क्यों कहते हैं. Are they made up of only 2 atoms? No, no, not at all. They are made up of trillions of atoms. Okay, they are living cells, so they will be made up of trillions of cells, and trillions of atoms. They are cells, so they will be made up of trillions of atoms, not just 2 atoms, but still we have named them diatoms. Okay, because we find that these animals, or I should say organisms, not animals, these protistans, they are unicellular organisms, something like this. This is one organism, okay, with a nucleus and cytoplasm and all the rest of the organelles and things like that. Okay, so this is one cell. However, this cell is covered in a structure. So this cell is covered, this unicellular organism is covered inside a structure, okay, which forms their cell wall, and this structure is made up of two units. Can you see? This is first unit, the inner and smaller one, and the second unit, which is outer and larger one. Because they are enclosed in this structure which is made up of two parts, okay, we call them as diatoms. Okay, we call them diatoms. Okay, we will see later. जब हम इसको और डिटेल में देखेंगे तो हम बात करेंगे कि ये क्या है. Okay, we will look at their chemical structure, what we call them and things like that. Great. इसीलिए हमने इसका नाम डायटम रखा है. Well, so let us first see the structure of the diatom. And if we look at the structure, it is a unicellular organism which is a single cell. And since it is eukaryotic cell, I'm zooming in here, okay, so that you can see it clearly. So this is unicellular organism and eukaryotic, so there will be a nucleus, correct? And this nucleus will be like double membraned. There will be chromosomes inside, or chromatin fiber, and then outside there will be obviously the cytoplasm, and inside cytoplasm there will be all the cell organelles such as mitochondria, correct? There will be Golgi bodies, there will be ER, correct? There will be a large vacuole as well. So in such cells there is a large vacuole, right? And not only this, they also have chloroplast. So they also have chloroplast, and because of chloroplast they are able to do photosynthesis, right? Oxygenic photosynthesis, and that's why they are producers. Okay, now so here they have chloroplast. Okay, and let me tell you, remember that in their chloroplast they contain the pigments, right? And these pigments have chlorophyll A, chlorophyll C, they have xanthines, okay, they have carotenoids, etc. What they do not have, they do not have chlorophyll B. Okay, so chlorophyll B is absent. याद रखिएगा, ये क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है बेटा. Chlorophyll B is not found in the diatoms. Well, याद रहेगा इतना? Great. So ये मैं डिलीट कर रहा हूं. अब देखिए, now so this is the inside of the cell, right? Usually they do not have flagella. Okay, only in their gametes, that is male gamete is flagellated. Rest entire organism do not have flagella. They have chloroplast but they lack flagella. Only gametes are flagella. Right? याद रहेगा. Now this organism is protected within a covering. Okay, so this organism is protected within a covering which is called fristule. So this covering is called fristule. Now see this covering. This covering is very interesting and a lot of questions are asked from this. Okay, so now let me well, now can you see? So if you see at this covering, so this entire covering is called fristule. This is called fristule. Now if you look at this fristule, okay, the orange part, this entire orange part has two units, right? Has two units. Now this one is lower and smaller part. Okay, this is called hypotheca. This is called hypotheca, and the upper larger one is called epitheca. Okay, and this hypotheca and epitheca both combines to form the fistule. Okay, so now this organism is actually protected into this soap box like structure. Okay, into this soap box like structure called fistule. Okay, and this fistule is made up of two units, and both these units are called theca. These are called theca. The smaller and inner one is called hypotheca. The larger and upper one is, or outer one, is called epitheca. Epitheca and hypotheca both combinedly form the fistule, or the soap box like structure, which is also considered as the cell wall. Okay, it is also considered as the cell wall. Now the second thing is what it is made up of, right? What this fistule is made up of. So it is made up of hydrated silica, right? It is made up of hydrated silica. Okay, or you can say silicon hydroxide. Silica is silicon hydroxide. Well, so if you look at the cell wall in case of diatoms, which is also known as fistule, it is made up of hydrated silicon hydroxide or hydrated silica. Okay, याद रहेगा. Well, silicon में E नहीं होगा. So silicon hydroxide. Great. Do remember this is a characteristic feature, okay, of the diatoms, that they have cell wall which is made up of hydrated silica, is called fistule, and this fistule has two units which are known as theca, the inner and smaller one hypotheca, and the outer and larger one epitheca. Great. Now one more thing which is very important here to note is this fistule, or this fistule is very hard and it is indestructible. Okay, मतलब आप इसको डिस्ट्रक्ट नहीं कर सकते हैं, ये जल्दी नहीं टूटता है. It is very hard, very stiff. Okay, so it is indestructible. और इसी की वजह से क्या होता है कि जब ये डायटम्स मरते हैं तो मरने के बाद इनका जो थीका है, जो fistule है, this indestructible fistule goes and get sedimented on the ocean floor, और ocean floor पे ये जमा हो करके ये white कलर की जो चीज एक लेयर बना देता है ocean floor पे, उसी को हम कहते हैं diatomaceous earth. Okay, so diatomaceous earth is nothing but a layer or the deposit or deposition of the fistule of diatoms. Okay, जो डायटम्स का सेल वॉल है, फ्रिस्ट्यूल है, जो कि हाइड्रेटेड सिलिकॉन डाइऑक्साइड का सिलिकॉन हाइड्रोक्साइड का बना है, उसी की क्या है, ये लेयर है डायटोमेसियस अर्थ. सिंस इट इज इंडिस्ट्रक्टिबल, आप इसको तोड़ नहीं सकते, वी यूटिलाइज दिस डायटोमेसियस अर्थ एज अ एब्रेसिव एजेंट. तो हम लोग इसको कैसा यूज करते हैं, एज एब्रेसिव एजेंट. ओके, और एज अ filter. Okay, as a filter or abrasive agent. Abrasive मतलब किसी भी चीज को रगड़ने के लिए, साफ करने के लिए, या फिर हम इसको फिल्टर करने के लिए यूज करते हैं. ओके, ग्रेट. सो आप लोग जो देखते हैं कि घरों में आप लोग जो ट्रिपोली स्टोन यूज करते हैं, ट्रिपोली स्टोन इंडस्ट्रीज में भी यूज होता है. नाउ दिस ट्रिपोली स्टोन इज मेड अप ऑफ व्हाट, diatomaceous earth. Now let me tell you one another interesting story. This diatomaceous earth is not only very hard and difficult to destruct, it is also very inert. इट इज ऑल्सो वेरी इनर्ट, मतलब ये किसी भी चीज से जल्दी रिएक्ट नहीं करता है, इट इज नॉन रिएक्टिव। एंड देयरफॉर अल्फ्रेड नोबेल, नाम सुना होगा आप लोगों ने, अल्फ्रेड नोबेल, नोबेल प्राइज इन्हीं के नाम पे दिया जाता है और इन्हीं का एक इंस्टीट्यूशन है, दैट इंस्टीट्यूशन बेयर्स ऑल दिस एक्सपेंसेस ऑफ नोबेल प्राइज। सो अल्फ्रेड नोबेल is credited for the discovery of TNT, okay, trinitrotoluene. Now this trinitrotoluene toluene, which is TNT, is an explosive. जो bombs होते हैं उनमें TNT होता है, okay, तो he discovered TNT, okay. Now जब ये TNT को बना रहे थे ना, फॉर हिम इट वाज अ चैलेंज कि TNT को किस चीज में कैरी करें, क्योंकि ये इतना रिएक्टिव होता है कि ये किसी भी चीज के साथ रिएक्ट कर जाता है। सो एट दैट टाइम अल्फ्रेड नोबेल यूज्ड diatomaceous earth to carry TNT. So he carried this explosive material into a structure made up of diatomaceous earth. ठीक है, interesting, right? So chemists also have used it because it is inert. याद रहेगा, great. Well, not only the diatomaceous earth is useful thing about the diatoms. In fact, if you look at diatoms, right? Now these diatoms are photosynthetic organisms, right? Unicellular photosynthetic organisms which are floating on the surface of ocean, right? So these are unicellular green organisms which are protected into this fistule and they are floating on the tides or in the water of the ocean, right? All these unicellular photosynthetic floating organisms are collectively called phytoplanktons. They are called phytoplanktons. Okay, now since these are phytoplanktons, they are actively doing photosynthesis, okay, they are producing food, great. So they are producers, now the number of diatoms is very high in the oceans. The number of diatoms is incredibly high. Since they are in very large number, they collectively do a lot of photosynthesis. So they are actually they are responsible for producing the majority of food. Okay, how much? They are responsible for producing around 45% of total food on your planet. Okay, so you think plants which are larger structures, they are doing photosynthesis, so they must be producing most amount of food? No, it is not. In fact, most of the food present on this planet is being produced by these tiny photosynthetic organisms called diatoms. Okay, in fact, more than 55% of the oceanic food is being produced by these diatoms, and therefore diatoms are considered as chief producers. So they are considered as chief producers. They are responsible for producing 45% of the total food. Okay, great. So diatoms are incredibly important for our ecosystem. Now when they are producing food, they must be storing as well, right? So the stored food in case of diatoms is oil and leucocene. याद रखेंगे आप इसको, oil and leucocene, या इसी को हम बोलते हैं laminoserine. Okay, leucocene or laminoserine. So these diatoms produce most of the food, okay, by photosynthesis, and they store this food in the form of oil and leucocene. Great. Well, what's next? What do we find is these diatoms, okay, these diatoms show bilateral symmetry. They show bilateral symmetry. It means that their body can be divided into two halves. And this bilateral symmetry is not because of their cell, but it is mainly because of their fistule. Okay, great. One more important thing I would like to add here is their body. Okay, they are diploid. Therefore, they have two N, that is two basic sets of chromosomes in their nucleus. Great. What next? Discovery. Okay. So if we talk of discovery, we find that the first diatom to be discovered was Basilaria. Okay, it was Basilaria, and it was discovered by a scientist called Muller, or named Muller, right? So Muller discovered the first diatom, that was Basilaria. Okay, yaad rahega. Great. Now let's move to another aspect of their life, and that is reproduction. So if we are talking of reproduction in diatoms, we see that they mainly reproduce asexually. They mainly reproduce asexually by a method called binary fission. By a method called binary fission. So most of these diatoms divide into two, okay, forming two new diatoms, okay, and this process of division is binary fission. It is same as we have seen in other organisms like bacteria. Okay, so no difference in terms of reproduction. These diatoms are mainly dividing through binary fission, and when this binary fission happens, now it is very interesting. Okay, look at this. Remember, this is the organism, and this organism has two theca, which combinedly forms the fistule, and these two theca, out of these two theca, one is smaller, the other one is larger. Remember, epitheca and hypotheca. Now think of this divided by binary fission and formed two cells. Wait, now one cell and two cell. Now this cell, the upper cell, got the upper theca, upper larger theca. Okay, so now what it will has to form? It has to form the hypotheca. That is okay, but this lower one, the second cell, has got the hypotheca, which is already the smaller one, right? Which is already the smaller theca. So this cell will be like this. Great. Now let me tell you the new theca. So whenever a diatom is formed, it receives one theca from its parent, and then it forms another theca in its lifetime. Then again it divides into two, and its two theca goes one to each of its daughter cells, right? So now again the new daughter cells will be having only one theca, okay, and they will develop the another one. Now always when a new diatom grows, it forms the hypotheca. Okay, so in a diatom, always the epitheca, that is the larger outer theca, is the theca which is obtained from its parent. Okay, the new theca form is hypotheca. What does this mean? This means that always the newer theca will be smaller than the theca obtained by their parents or obtained from their parents, right? समझ में आ रहा है ये बात? Now think, the upper cell line is okay. Now when this lower cell is again going to divide, and it's dividing into two cells, the second cell, I am assuming that it is going to get the smaller theca. Again it will get even smaller because it was the red one. Okay, then what will happen? It will form again the epitheca, which will be even smaller. In next generation, again the theca will be further smaller. Okay, will be further smaller. What I'm trying to say here is one line, okay, one set of daughter cell will keep getting the smaller theca, the hypotheca. As a result, after some time they will grow so small that further their existence is not possible. And in that case, the diatom do not undergo the asexual reproduction, rather it goes for sexual reproduction. Okay, so in the diatoms, when they grow very small because of smaller theca, they switch to sexual reproduction. Now they switch to sexual reproduction. Okay, great. And what they do in sexual reproduction? In sexual reproduction, they will produce two gametes, male gamete and female gamete. Okay, let me tell you that these two gametes, the male gamete and female gamete, are not similar. The male gamete is flagellated and it is only structure that has flagella, while the female gamete is non-flagellated. It means that the female gamete is non-motile, but the male gamete is motile. Great. Now both size is almost same. The size of male and female gamete is same, but on the basis of motility they are different. One has flagella, the other one has not. Therefore, the fusion of such a male and female gamete, where both the gametes are not similar, is anisogamy, right? So here anisogamy happens. So when diatoms undergo sexual reproduction, they show anisogamy, and because of anisogamy, now 2n zygote is formed. Okay, and this 2n zygote, okay, will again grow into a new diatom. Okay, and this diatom will form new frustule, and this will be the frustule of largest size, new frustule of largest size. And then it will again what? It will continue doing after this, it will continue to do what? Binary fission, and gradually again the frustule size will what? Keep on decreasing. Once it will become very small, then it will again show what? Sexual reproduction. And this is what happens in the life of diatoms. Okay, now one thing very important here to note, that this zygote before developing into diatom, here they form oxospore. Okay, so zygote forms the oxospore, and then oxospore develops into the diatom. Okay, now this is a very important question. Many of the time in the match the column or in the MCQs, they ask about oxospore. Where do you find them? You find them in case of Protista. Which Protista? Chrysophytes. Which chrysophytes? Diatoms. Okay, याद रखिएगा इस चीज को. So this is how reproduction takes place in case of diatoms. Okay, and when these diatoms switch to sexual reproduction, now both the frustules, the previous frustules, are shed off. It goes and sinks on the ocean floor or the sea floor, forming the diatomaceous earth. Correct? And when after this sexual reproduction, the new zygote is formed, the new organism is formed, this new organism is going to construct entirely new frustule. Both the theca, that is epitheca and hypotheca, are newly made and they are of largest size. Okay, तो समझ में आ रहा है. इनके रिप्रोडक्शन में मोस्टली क्या हो रहा है? एसेक्सुअल रिप्रोडक्शन हो रहा है, बाइनरी फ्यूजन हो रहा है, एंड स्लोली साइज डिक्रीज होता जा रहा है एक लीनिएज का. जब बहुत छोटा हो जाएगा, then it will be not difficult or not possible to further divide asexually, at that time they will form the gametes. यहाँ पे meiosis होगा, ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे gamete formation कैसे होगा, meiosis से, यहाँ पे meiosis होगा और दो तरह के gametes बनेंगे, male gamete and female gamete. Male gamete flagellated होगा, female gamete non flagellated होगा, उनके बीच में फिर से क्या होगा, anisogamy, fusion होगा of dissimilar gametes resulting in the formation of zygote, zygote से oxospore, oxospore से फिर से diatoms, and these diatoms will grow largest size, all new fistule. Okay, and then again same thing, asexual reproduction, so this cycle keeps on continuing. Okay, so this is the reproduction in diatoms. Well, one final thing to see here is their growth curve. Okay, so once we are seeing this, that the diatoms are showing binary fission, so they are dividing, it means that they are dividing similar to bacteria, right? So they are growing similar to bacteria, that is, you can relate that their growth rate is a function of 2 to power n, right, where n is the number of divisions. So growth equation, right? So if we are talking about growth equation, it is 2 to power n, correct? So they are multiplying at a rate of 2 to power n, that is, they are dividing logarithmically. Okay, and if we look at their growth curve, they show a J-shaped curve. Okay, so they form something like this. They show J-shaped curve. So initially they show a slow growth, and once they get acclimatized to the conditions or the environment, they divide at an exponential rate, that is 2 to power n rule, following the 2 to power n rule, and they will keep on dividing. Okay, their number increases dramatically, and it keeps on increasing even beyond the carrying capacity of that ecosystem. Okay, and once they cross this, what will happen? They will start to die. So their population crash. This is death. Okay, such a life cycle is called boom and burst. Why? Can you see here, when the condition was suitable, there was abundant food and supply, that is when this population was under the carrying capacity, they were blooming at a very high rate. Bloom ka matlab hota hai to flourish, so they were booming. Okay, once they crossed the carrying capacity of that ecosystem, now there, because of scarcity of food and other natural resources, their population suddenly drops down, so they start to die at a large scale or mass scale, that is, they burst. Okay, that's why we say that the diatoms shows boom and burst life cycle. Okay, boom and burst life cycle. Okay, so this is it about the diatoms. We have seen their structure, we have seen their cell wall, we have seen their ecological role, that is producers. We have seen that they are chief producers. Okay, we have seen where they are found. Okay, about their reproduction, about their photosynthesis, about their stored food, and their growth curve. Well, so this is all about the diatoms. The second member of the Chrysophyceae family or chrysophytes is desmids. Remember? Desmids. Now desmids are commonly known as golden algae. They are commonly known as golden algae. Okay, why we call them? Let us see. Because the desmids are of golden color, and since they are oxygenic photoautotroph, okay, so like algae, they are called golden algae. Okay, where they are found. So let us see. Color wise they are golden to red or yellow. Okay, where they are found. Habitat is obviously what? Marine. Okay, now obviously they will be what? Unicellular and eukaryotic. Nutrition, there will be photo, autotrophic, and that too oxygenic. Okay, and to do this photosynthesis they should have chloroplast. And inside the chloroplast they have chlorophyll A, chlorophyll C, they have xanthine. Okay, especially they have diatoxanthine, they have carotenoids and things like that. Okay, what they do not have is chlorophyll B. Again they lack chlorophyll B. याद रखेंगे इस बात को. Now golden algae are also one of the chief producers. Okay, so they are also chief producers because they produce food. What we need to remember here about desmids or golden algae is at times they are poisonous for aquatic life. Okay, so they can be poisonous for the aquatic life. Now for example, there is a desmid called Pymnesium parvum. Now this Pymnesium parvum is a desmid which is also known as fish killer because of its toxin. Okay, so it has a toxin which kills the fishes in water body, and therefore the water containing this dinoflagellate is not suitable for the fishes or other aquatic lives. So if we look at the structure of a desmid, what we find is the desmids, okay, desmids have two flagella, one on their either end. याद रखेंगे. So they have two flagella, one at the either end, and they have a cell wall. Okay, they have a cell wall, and this cell wall is again made up of silica, that is hydrated silicon hydroxide, and this cell wall is called statocyst or statolith. Okay, so if you look at a desmid, they are usually golden in color, they have two flagella, and they have a cell wall which is made up of silica. Okay, now one more important thing here, okay, is out of these two flagella, one flagellum is small, smooth and inactive. Small, smooth and inactive, while the other flagella is large and it has small hair-like structures present on it. Okay, and this is called mastigophora. Okay, so these hair-like structures, this is called mastigophora. And since this whole organism, which is 2N, have two flagellum, out of which one is smooth small and inactive. The other one is large and it bear hairs like structure, mastigophora, and is active. That is, both the flagellum are not similar but dissimilar. We call them heterocont flagella. Okay, so the desmids have heterocont flagella. Okay, so now we know that desmids have heterocont flagella because both the flagella are not identical, they are different. One is smooth, smaller and inactive. The other one is larger, having hair-like projections and is active. Okay, one is present on the either end, and this entire unicellular organism is covered into a cell wall which is made up of silicon hydroxide. Okay, particularly hydrated silicon dioxide, which is also known as statocyst or statolith. What we also know is desmids are photosynthetic microorganisms, correct? So they are chief producers, one of the chief producers. At the same time, they are harmful to the aquatic life because many a times they produce toxin. One such example is here, which is also given in the NCERT, and that's why it is very important for you. It is Pyramnesium parvum. Okay, it is a fish killer. Great. So this is all about desmids. The golden point is it is known as golden algae. Okay. So what we have seen today in this video lecture is a brief account of kingdom Protista and in detail discussion of Chrysophyceae or the members of chrysophytes. Great. So with this, we are concluding this video lecture here. In the next lecture, we will start with the dinoflagellates. Okay. Till then, take very good care of yourselves and stay tuned. Thank you.